Ah, my good and dear friends. This is Londo Molare, and I'm watching the Bad News Bards. Have I ever told you you're very cute for a Mandare?
Welcome, everybody. It's Death Angel Shadow. And yes, your turn, Dan.
I was muted.
You were. Hey, Cam, how are you doing this evening?
Good evening. Good.
So, we got a very special guest waiting in the wings with us, but anything new to report from across the plains there, Cam or Dan?
I've been delving into a lot of RPG stuff just in general, so having a good time.
I've
That's
been
awesome.
slowly reading my acquisitions from the 2 cons I went to, but aside from that, it's just been raining a lot. So, nope.
Yeah, I've been reading here too. And I ran to Home Depot earlier. We were talking before the show.
Squirrel.
I've got to
Squirrel.
got to get some frame built. So squirrel, I'm always gonna squirrel. That's just me.
Focus.
Any rate, speaking of squirreling, let's not do that anymore. Let's go ahead and bring our guest of honor on tonight, Mr. Jeffrey Talanian, the creator of Hyperborea. So,
Oh, that's a big.
that's not a good look. That one.
There we go.
That's better. How you doing, Jeff?
Pretty good. How about yourself?
Oh, not too bad. Riding any possessed Cybertrucks lately?
Not lately, at least, but I have this month.
Yeah.
Still fresh in your memory.
It is. Oh man. So so I guess you and Dan already got to meet on a previous show.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
were
on
on
Erudite.
Erudite, yeah. And of course, we're playing the Zambala game on Mondays, which I don't know if you've had a chance to check it out or not, but Dan
Yeah.
is a
A little bit here and there.
yeah. Dan's doing a good job, man. I man, props. He's
See, I've only got one character so far. I feel like I need to up my game. So,
well, everybody seems to love it. Kyle loves it. Cam loves it. I love it. So
you guys keep winning initiative. It's driving me nuts.
I'm surprised I'm
Will go your way
alive.
sooner or
It will. It definitely will.
later.
And now tomorrow night we're off, right? We're dark
Correct.
on that show because Erudite just moved.
Yep,
So
he's moving to North Carolina. So
yeah, he's going to be over in my neck of the woods, just on the other side of the mountain from me. But at any rate, let's see. Well, Cam always has a question he likes to kick off with, so I'm going to go ahead and pass the torch to him to ask his usual standard icebreaker question. Cam?
Sure. Well, I asked this question because I'm genuinely interested. I like to hear stories of people's first experience with role playing, how they first were introduced to it or got into it. If it was just, hey, I picked up a book one day, or I knew some friends or whatever. Again, I'm a little bit older, so it wasn't way before the internet age, where you could just look something up easily. So, if you would tell us a little bit about that, and if you want to go into how you got into creating game systems and work professionally in that would be great too.
Sure. Well, I played a lot of like board games and war games when I was really young. But when I got to the fifth grade, it was one day a buddy of mine brought this game to school. We had indoor recess because of the exceptional amount of snow outside back in the days when it had to be a blizzard for school to get canceled. So he introduced us to this game, Dungeons and Dragons, and I had just finished recently reading The Hobbit, so it totally clicked with me. And of course, I had watched the Rankin Bass Hobbit, and of course, and which is a classic.
Yep.
And so we played D&D during this indoor recess, and we loved it so much. We decided to go back to this other kid's house after school to continue the game. We were playing the Keep on the Borderlands, so it was a blast. And so I immediately became obsessed with the game, and bugged my parents to order me a copy of it, which was in the Sears Wish Book catalog.
Mm-hmm.
And started with my own the John Holmes basic set, which I then ran games for the kids that lived in my neighborhood where I lived, which was a little ways away from the kid who introduced me to it. And so that's basically how I got my start. I was running Holmes Basic, and I had a paper route at the time and saved my money, and eventually bought myself a Dungeon Master's Guide. So I was running D&D with just a Holmes Basic set and a Dungeon Master's Guide. I don't know what I was doing rules-wise. I have no idea. It was probably, there was no internet to tell me that I was doing it wrong. It was just kids and their imagination, and eventually, I started to collect up some of the other books. One funny story was when I was a kid, there was a kid in one of the neighborhoods near me that had the deities and demigods, and I thought it was the most awesome thing in the world, because I was starting to get into the Elric stories and stuff like that, and getting into H.P. Lovecraft and mythos type stuff. So it took me a while, because we used his. I eventually picked up a copy at Walden Books, and you could imagine my horror when I got home that it didn't have Elric in it or Cthulhu. I felt like I got ripped off by TSR. So anyway, fast forwarding ahead, I started writing at a young age, and I did a lot of game design just for my personal group, just coming up with rules variations and my own types of subsystems and things like that. And I was doing some fiction writing from my mid-20s into my late 20s and into my early 30s. And at one point I decided to dip my toes into role-playing game stuff, and I happened to catch that I was starting up a Greyhawk campaign, and I was doing some reading on Greyhawk and trying to get myself caught up in it, because that was the setting I ran when I was a teenager. And then I noticed that Gary Gygax had put a call out for developers of his Eggsburg project, which was the city next to Castle Zagig, and Castle Zagig basically being Castle Greyhawk with the serial numbers filed off.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I applied for work with Gary, sent him a cover letter and some sample writing, and he welcomed me to the team, and that's how I broke into writing in role-playing games, working for Gary, and eventually became his writing partner for the main Castle Dungeons. And then after he passed away, I decided to create my own game, and that's what I've been doing now. I started developing it in August of 2008, and then ran a Kickstarter in 2011, and had it out in 2012, and I've been doing that ever since.
Very cool. I'm sorry, Jeff. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, so 2008. So you worked on Castle Zagig then with Gary back in the day.
Yeah,
that's kind of cool. I don't know if you have seen the Castle Zagig that was reprinted by Troll Lord Games, which of course is a classic. I don't know if it's. I guess I should see if your name's in there. It might be.
There's a bunch of my work that's in there.
Yeah. Okay. That's cool. Because I've got that, and of course, then they've done some other stuff. What was it like working with Gary?
Oh, it was incredible. At first I was kind of starstruck because when I was a kid growing up, like the names Gary Gygax and Stan Lee were like gods to me at the time. I just thought that these are the people that I looked up to for their magnificent creations. And so I kind of had to pinch myself that I was actually working for him. So it started off like I was he was like the teacher and I was the student kind of thing. But after a while we became buddies, and so it was great working for him. He was just this brilliant, creative mind who was just on point for everything that he touched on, whether it was history or science or architecture and things like that, and warfare. And he just was an encyclopedia of knowledge when it came to these things. And he taught me a lot about game design. He taught me, and even when he wasn't actively teaching me, just by observing the way he went about doing things was a great learning experience for me. So it was a period of my life for about 2.5 years or so that I will always cherish.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you worked with him up until what? He passed away in 2008?
Yeah, I was working for him at that time.
Yeah. Wow, it's I think it was a lot of people were taken, in shock, I think, when that happened. And he was a pioneer, I think, in a lot of regards. And I think people like you are keeping that spirit alive. And
Well, thank you.
It's been an honor to play in a game. It's been an honor to meet you in person too. That was fun. I think we talked a couple of times, not just in the Cybertruck of Doom.
Right.
we actually talked out in front of the hotel a couple times too.
Sure, yeah.
But Cam, you had a question? Go ahead. And
I was just going to say, so did you, you played as a kid, and you said as a teenager in first edition, and then did you take a little bit of time off before you then started working with? You said you were doing other writing and thing, but off from gaming, I mean.
Not really. I think there was a period right after high school when I was going to college that I didn't play for about a year and a half, maybe. I don't even think it was as long as 2 years. And started playing again. And then when I started playing again, the guys that I was invited by a group of guys that I kind of knew that I had played with a few times with before, and they were playing second edition AD&D at that point. So that was in the early 90s. So I went, and before long I was dungeon mastering again, because most of my life I've been the constant dungeon master,
Sure. Our friend Dying Breed Tabletop here, Kyle, says that he was aware of Hyperborea and the first edition PDFs, but until Dan, he's one of the players in Dan's current game that we're running on Mondays, he had no idea it was an amazing successor to AD&D first edition. And it certainly seems that way. I had also been saying, man, I really want to play a 1E game. I want to play a 1E game, that kind of goes for a while. And Dan isn't quite aware of this, but it's going to go for a while. It seems
fine by me, guys.
But what Kyle here said is, it really does seem to be a successor to 1E. I think clearly it's inspired by 1E, and there are a lot of changes too, but it feels very much like first edition to me. And other people have said, oh man, it's just like if I know 1E, I pick this up no problem.
Right. So, yeah, people that have played, when I run games at conventions and they say, oh, I have never played this game before, my typical question I ask them is, have you ever played Advanced Dungeons and Dragons before, first edition, second edition, or basic D&D, or any of the BX, variants that are out there these days, or clones, I should say. And so if you've had any experience with any of those, you pick up this quite easily.
Mm-hmm. And so was it your work with Gary that really, why did you choose 1E as kind of your, I don't want to say well, I guess it's the basis. Is that a fair way of saying your game is a fork of 1E or inspired by? Or how
I have a combination. Like you could say that I have a lot of influence there as far as a lot of the classes and the spells, but I tame it down to just 6 levels of spells, and character classes only go up to 12th level, so they don't go up to this sort of superhero immortal status of player character type. It's and the intent of that is to keep it more in the my fictional inspirations of sword and sorcery type of stuff, where the characters really can't become all powerful. So we don't have like those, 7th, 8th, and 9th level spells that would do that. But as far as mechanics go, a lot of it is inspired by earlier versions of D&D, but that's where it kind of stops, because a lot of it is also like a lot of my own innovations and house rules that I was doing for many years. So asking the reason why I would draw inspiration from that stuff, the answer is pretty simple. When I was making the game, I really wanted to make a game that I could play with my beer drinking buddies on Tuesday nights, that I wanted to run and that they wanted to play. I was never trying to fill any type of marketing hole that I felt like I could exploit or anything like that. It was natural of what I wanted to run and what my players wanted to play.
Okay, that's cool. Now, well, as it turns out, though, of course, the old school gaming thing is big now, right? So it doesn't hurt to have a game that appeals to a lot of people who are looking for that. And Jeff and I have been talking a little bit recently about one of the things we want to do with this channel, and is appeal to, let's say, modern gamers or newer gamers who might be looking for something different. And we all took to water to playing Hyperborea pretty easily in our group. We're older guys. Jeff, do you want to talk about that a little bit about kind of?
I've been finding a lot. I'd say this has mostly been the last 2 to 3 years that there's been a growing segment of people who were introduced to this wonderful hobby through 5th edition D&D. And after a time, they get bored with it, or they just get curious about trying something new, or they get really into the hobby and they want to see what the roots of the hobby were like and what games are out there now that reasonably simulate that type of experience. So people are naturally I'm finding that it's a lot of guys in their and girls, of course, in their late 20s, early 30s that have started playing 5th edition when they were teenagers. And so they're coming around to these other games and trying it out. And I think that's wonderful, because it's I think it demonstrates the longevity of this style of play, and that it's not, some people would call it a nostalgia trip, that the only reason you like this style of game is because you're embracing the nostalgia of your youth. And I reject that notion, because I think a good game is a good game, and a good style of play is a good style of play. And I think that it when people discover it and it resonates with them, then that's great, and they're having a good time.
Sure. And of course, there are many people who have been playing the old school style of games straight through. They never moved over to the modern, so it's not nostalgia for them. It's just what they've always done and enjoyed. So that's right. It's cool.
I took a detour into Pathfinder 2, and I kind of regret it.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things you mentioned, the classes, and you and I, when we were talking at North Texas, the subject came up. You asked me what I was playing. And I said, I'm a cryomancer in this game. And I said, I really like, the very unique classes that you came up with. And you had mentioned that you tried to give each of these classes something unique that makes them special. So that, because that's one of the things that you run into in things like 5e and where what good is it being a mage if everybody else can cast spells too? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So it's basically embracing a style of archetypal play in which you embrace a character concept, and that character concept may have some overlap with other character classes, but it's going to have some unique abilities that that are basically protected by that character class.
Yeah.
In a lot of modern games, what you see, and I'm not bashing the modern games, it's if you're into it, you're into it. But what a lot of them have is a sort of a la carte type of character creation and building method, in which you're building a character and you can basically build anything you want, and your character can have any ability that's available in the game. So in a more classical archetypal character class system, you have these you have more of a defined role in which that character plays.
Yeah. So a buddy of mine, Chris, who's really into Dark Sun, he's trying to put on a convention
That's good
here.
stuff.
He said he wants to know where the water goes or comes from.
Yeah, we were having a discussion of this on our casual show on Friday.
I can't reveal all my secrets. That's one of the mysteries of this weird setting, right?
Right.
Yeah,
Well, we were all. Go ahead, Dan.
I was gonna say one of the other ones that came up was what's the underside of the flat world look like?
I think I asked that.
My version, it's like all rocky and craggy and stuff because you've got Hyperborea and everything.
Right. We'll go with that.
Yeah, that's what we're going with. All right, cool.
Yeah.
It's canon.
Nothing.
That should be another Kickstarter. The Secrets of the Other Side.
The other side. Yeah, I have one of my players, my buddy Dan. He's always asking me about it, or he tries to trick me into it. Into telling him.
Yeah, that's always awesome. Dan,
I've got on my Tuesday game, I've got a buddy who's like very hyper analytical, who always starts going with those kind of questions. Like if I come up with some random settlement somewhere, like, in the middle of a lava lake, he'll be like, well, what do they eat? They can't fish. I'm like, crap. They shoot down birds. They eat birds. They have a bird diet.
They catch birds.
Right. It's always one of the crowd.
Right.
And Dan was showing off the map the other day, which I actually just picked up too. Both you've got the atlas and you've got then the map that's very, very detailed. It's not a bad thing, and these are all on drive-through. Is there a preferred way for people to pick up the stuff from you? Is it would you rather them go to your website or go to drive-through, or does it matter?
Well, I'm only selling the PDF stuff at drive-through.
Right.
So and all the print stuff I'm selling through my website.
Okay.
And so as far as the large scale map goes, we did do a few different printings of a large 32-inch by 40-inch canvas map that was really popular. I want to say it was like I think it's like $155 or $160. I forget. I don't remember offhand. But we're going to be doing one again, and I'm actually getting ready to launch that as a pre-sale probably this week, because it's been a popular request, because we usually print them every couple of years as a pre-order, and then we get a handful of extras and sell them on the website. But it's kind of like a high-end item for people who are really into their maps,
So for Dan,
yes,
yeah,
I have it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know what? We were talking. I'm putting together a frame for a map, so you never know. I might wind up getting one too. He was trying to explain how north is always in the center, right?
Correct. Yeah. So you have to look at it as a sort of polar, or Arctic or Antarctic type of continent, in which the center of it, which is Mount Vermithidon, is all points north. So when you're facing Mount Vermithidon, to your left is the west, and to your right is the east, and it sort of works that way. So it takes a little bit of getting used to, and so the longitudinal and latitudinal lines are somewhat important in seeing where you are in the world. But if you keep that basic concept in mind, that's massive mountain at the center of the continent is all points north, it sort of falls in place and makes sense from there.
Yeah, I think I blew some minds when I did a little explanation of how, like, they're in the Zakat Desert by Zambala. And I'm like, so when I said east, it's like technically in this hex. And I went like, from a cardinality, like up and to the left. And I was like, but if they were in the Diamond Desert, since it's over here, east would be down to the right. So
right.
Yeah,
exactly. So it's you basically have to just say, if you make your characters face that north point, and then you can figure out your other cardinal directions from there.
Yep.
Yeah. So now you've also mixed in. There's some sci-fi elements to this, right?
Yes.
I mean, obviously the Hyperborea is in orbit. What, around Saturn? Is it?
Well, it's not necessarily orbiting around Saturn, but they're neighbors.
Okay.
And so Saturn is often visible in the sky. So whether they're sort of tethered together or actually orbiting each other in some fashion is up to the individual referee. But the way I basically run it, the Saturn isn't going to eclipse the sun. That Hyperborea is basically functioning as more of a more inner satellite towards the sun.
Right. Dungeon Delver Bill Sylvie, he said, "You point north, Talanian," and I guess it made more sense to him than anybody else. But do you know Bill?
Of course, yeah, I've known Bill for years. Bill and I
say,
were working for Gary around the same time back then, and I think
great.
I probably first met Bill around 2006.
Oh,
So
yeah.
Forever.
Yeah,
And
I figured.
Bill and I both. So back in 2006, 2007, they ran the Troll Lord Games guys. They ran a little convention in downtown Lake Geneva that they called the Lake Geneva Gaming Convention. And it was a small gathering of like 100, 200 people. And Bill and I would go and hang out with guys like Gary and Rob Kuntz and Frank Menser and guys like that would all come down. Jim Ward. It was just this great gathering of gamers. Really before a lot of the old school stuff took off again. So it was like this sort of eclectic bunch of ne'er-do-wells.
Yeah. Cam, you want to go ahead and read this question from Kyle? I'm going to kill a bot.
Sure. Kyle, Dangbreed Tabletop says most newer games use strictly D20 mechanics. Hyperborea bucks the trend by using individual mechanics for rules and descending AC. How do you explain your success regarding this?
Well, I tried 3rd edition in the early 2000s. It was during a time when I felt that 2nd edition AD&D had become so overcomplicated, and 3rd edition was advertised as a back to basics game. And so I started playing 3rd edition, and I came to develop a sort of distaste for an all-in-one D20 mechanic, that a D20 solves everything. And I really started to miss different mechanical resolutions using different polyhedrals to solve stuff within the game, in the system. So I started to introduce all these different house rules, and a lot of those house rules carried over to my Hyperborea game today. And so I was never really a big fan of that universal mechanic. And so going back to different forms of resolution, whether it's something be a chance in 6 or a chance in 12, or a charisma reaction check being a 2d6, something's working on a bell curve. I really like all those types of different mechanics, and I was also very fond of descending AC. I like a combat matrix that basically goes from either 10 to -10, or as I'm doing it in Hyperborea, 9 to -9, where you have this confined set of ACs that you target for. And so it kind of falls into the same answer I gave earlier about the game that I wanted to play with my friends. I actually never imagined that I would at some point be quitting my day job to work on role-playing games full-time doing this. When I first created the 1st edition of the Hyperborea game, and I was writing it from 2008 to 2011 and then publishing it in 2012, I never imagined that I would sell out of those original box sets that I printed. I printed about 1,000 or 1,100, I think it was, box sets. And I thought I would have them forever, that I would sell one every couple of months or so for years and years. So it was a delight to me and a pleasant surprise when I realized that I was going to be sold out of them 3 or 4 years later and would have to go to another edition of the game.
The one thing that I really like that you do with the different dice is the I'll use the term broadly, skills, meaning like move silently, a lot of the thief type skills and things where you're using the D12. I'm not sure if you're the first that has done that, but I think some have done the D6. Well, obviously like the classic listen checks and things, but I like the D12 because it gives you a little bit more, granularity in there.
Right. And that was exactly it, what I was going for. I probably tinkered around with a D6. I didn't want to go the AD&D method of percentiles, and I definitely didn't want to do the D20 method. So I was looking at the D6, and it just wasn't granular enough for my taste. So I decided, well, why not the never loved, the often forgotten D12?
Yeah,
the beautiful dodecahedron.
Yes.
Yeah. See, so you're not the only one. That there's a couple of guys out there that are using D12, and I like that increased granularity. I think that
I like it as a referee because it makes it a lot better when you want to add a small situational modifier. Because on a D6, it's a 16.6 etc. % swing, and sometimes that's too much. So.
Yep.
So I haven't run it yet. Dan, of course, has been the guru on the running it. Dan, do you have any questions from a referee perspective that might be of interest to folks out there that are looking at running it?
I mean, I've got like all sorts of lore related questions, like what's an undeveloped area of the atlas that you'd like to maybe set an official adventure in or something, because like I know the one that piques my interest is Sharath, which for those that don't know, it's the only landmass that touches the Black Gulf. So
right, so we do have a little something that's in that area, and that is in the Seawolf's Daughter,
right,
where part of that adventure goes there, but the rest of that is hasn't really been developed. I'd like to see at some point some stuff done with the Amazonian islands, including the floating island of Paradox. I thought I think that would be a cool area to develop. When Ben Ball wrote the Thousand Eyes of Thaumagoria, it was cool to get something up in that region over there where there's a lot of orcs. I would like to see something done with the savage boreal coasts where all the half-blood Pictish tribes dwell. I do have something in the works for that from longtime artist Del Tigler, who pitched me some stuff that he's run there. So we may publish some of his stuff that he's been running there. He does a sort of he does two different things. He has adventures that he's run in that region, and he also has this sort of hex crawl method that he's been running at different conventions. Mm-hmm. So I think there's a lot of area. I mean, there's some areas that have seen a decent amount of development, and there's some places that have been completely untouched. There's like the Black Waste, where there's all these craters from these meteorites that struck there ages ago. There's all kinds of places that would be open for development. But like I always say, if you see a region and it inspires your creativity when you're checking it out, and you think that you'd want to run something there that you make up on your own, or if you port in some published material that you happen to enjoy, I fully encourage that all the time. I want people who run the setting to feel at liberty to run what they want in it and inject their own creativity into it without having to worry about disrupting lore or anything like that.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, there's no, you can't do that because in Cormyr during this year, this is what was going on type of thing.
Right.
Xbox Father's got a question in here about the future. He says, Mr. Talanian, I love the Hyperborea setting. Big fan. I know that you're currently working on another expansion to the setting. Do you foresee yourself creating another setting anytime?
You know, I wouldn't rule that out. There's definitely like ideas that I have, but you know, one of the big ones that I have a lot of notes on, and because I did development for my home group, was actually Adventures on Saturn, and I think that that would be a blast to run because a lot of it is very Clark Ashton Smith inspired. Um, and I think it would be a blast to do something like that. But you know, right now I feel like I have so much on the plate with the stuff that I'm doing just for the Hyperborea setting itself that would be some ways off. But I would definitely entertain that, and I appreciate the question.
I'm sorry. Did you want to go with that one?
I was going to say, yeah. So Bill's got another comment. He says right now he's coding Familiar. I think that's his next project, and maybe he'll come on next week briefly and give us an update about it. But he says he's coding Familiar, and man, does the D12 show up more in the Dungeon Master Guide for 1E than you might think. So, that is
Yeah, I mean, I know it was used for different types of weapon damages. But I'm a little bit of a loss of recalling instances of situational mechanical resolutions that leaned on the D12. You know, there's definitely some bell curve stuff with the 2D6 that I remember. But yeah, I'd be curious. Maybe Bill can enlighten us with a couple of those.
Yeah, that would be cool. Cam?
Yeah, Dying Breed had another one of
Oh, the one. This one here. Another question.
Yeah, I said another question. Do you allow? This is kind of in relation to you were saying about people adding their own things in. Do you allow third-party indie content? And I think he means officially published under your banner. And what is your take on that? The game and the settings seem very open to it.
I don't. I don't. Everything published for Hyperborea has to go through Northwind Adventures. And the reason why that is I feel that there are a lot of generic retro clone systems out there that people can develop for, whether it be Swords and Wizardry or Osric or Labyrinth Lord or OSE or Shadow Dark. There's a lot of there's a lot of systems out there that are open to that sort of thing. The Hyperborea system itself is very tied into the setting. A lot of the classes have very specific setting lore tied into them. Spells do. And there's so much material like that. I don't want to open that up to anyone to develop. I prefer to keep it all in-house.
Okay.
So if somebody wanted to publish something, would they be able to send something to you for review, or how does that work?
Yeah, I mean, someone could solicit me with their pitch, their idea, and then if it was something that I was interested, maybe we could take it to the next step. But right now, I can tell you that I'm pretty much all booked up through 2027.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Well, that's a good segue for as to what's coming into 2027. So,
right.
For those of us on the Discord, and there were a bunch of really awesome posters of it at North Texas. What I believe is going to be the back cover art. The City State of Chromarium box set is going to be crowdfunding next year, I believe. So
yeah, that's the big project that I've been working on now. It's really it's the most ambitious project that I've worked on since the game itself. It's the largest project. It reminds me of the stuff that I was working for when I was working for Gary, when I was doing a lot of city development. Although I have a different style of doing it than what Gary's defined style guide was. I have my own sort of thing that I'm doing with this. Right. But it's a massive city project, and yes, it's going to have it's probably the most likely format due to the amount of maps and materials in it is box set seems to make the most sense. And so it's going to have a city guide that has key locations that are detailed for the individual referee, but a lot of open locations for development. but also those open locations, you can either make them up yourself, or we're going to have tables in which you can auto-generate the contents of some of those places, whether it be the people that are there, a little bit about the architecture, or or maybe some type of adventure hook. And so the city is going to be filled with all these key locations, the religions, the politics, the military, the factions, everything that you could imagine, guilds, and different, all the different races of Hyperborea dwell in Cromarium, because it's the most racially diverse city in the realm. And it's just really this great melting pot. But it's also sort of a chaotic city. You know, their primary deity of worship is Sathagwa in that city, and so there's the different temples and everything that you can imagine, assassins. It's just filled with everything. So there's so much adventure within the city itself. And then we're going to have the undercity of it, which is the sewers and the aqueducts and the connecting basements and sub basements that form into different dungeons underneath. And then we're going to do some development of the surrounding wilderness, and different adventure sites outside the walls of the city that can be explored. And then we're also going to have a booklet that's a sort of a player's guide to Cromarium, which will have the information that's safe for players to digest, and so they can know a little bit about the city and places they can go. Like if they're looking to go to, I want my character to go to the Temple of Apollo, where might that be? Or a general store, or a weaponsmith, or something like that. So those kinds of things are basic common knowledge that can either be acquired, or if they're setting it up so that their characters actually live in Cromarium, these might be things that they just kind of know. So it's really been a lot of fun to develop, and they've come a long way, but it's still got a ways to go.
Looks like Roger, which you weren't able to go to CNYCon this year, but are you planning on going next year?
I'm gonna try to pull it off. I would really love to go. The only part of it that's hard for me is that it's the very next weekend after North Texas, and so typically I'm running a small publishing outfit here in New Hampshire, and the fun stuff is creating adventures, right, and playing games. But then there's all the work involved with logistics and customers ordering and things like that, and inventory related stuff, and so it's the business side of things when I go to a convention sort of gets put to the side. So by the time I get back from a con, I'm way behind on a lot of stuff. And so it's a little
2 weeks out. Yeah.
It'll be tough to get home and back to my home office and dealing with that stuff, and then be heading right out again. But I'm going to try to pull it off. I would really love to go. And Roger's a great dude.
Yes, he is.
I would love to get out there. I think it's about a 5.5-hour drive. I may just drive out.
Well, you're closer than I am. It was, I think it said 16 hours. It didn't happen. And of course now my wife wants to go to North Texas next year too. So it's like, might as well drive out there too. Why not? We're just going to drive cross country, right? 16 hours one way.
Clearly, we need a Dallas to Utica bullet train just for the conventions.
Yes, we should. But Roger is an awesome guy. Stephen Kennedy's got a question. Any chance on bringing those super cool dice bags back?
Yeah, I've been thinking about that, because I've been sort of messing around with a new design for dice, and coming out with a second, because we just did one. We did one style of dice about 5 years ago, and they've been really popular. We still sell them, and I was thinking about embracing a different concept, and if I do that, I'll probably do dice bags again, but I'm just not entirely sure that I'm gonna do the exact same thing again. It might be something different, but also cool,
kind of unique and something. Yeah. Midnight Green Gaming. Hyperborea is a completely fantastic game, and
Oh,
yes,
thank you.
I would agree. It's awesome. It's an awesome game. Let me see if there's. Here's another question from Dying Breed. Are you familiar with the Thieves World box set
Oh,
by Chaosium? Is that the city and state
both
of the
those that you cite there, those are both big inspirations. But
Yeah.
one of the things I've tried to do with the development of Chromarium is not be so inward looking that I'm looking at just other role playing game cities for its
Yeah.
development. I've been doing a lot of study of real world historical cities and looking at different designs of the cities themselves, logistically, and then also, the cultures and religions and the ports and the trade and the resources and the grain and the mining and everything that has gone into cities of antiquity. And so I love the Thieves World box set, and also the City State of the Invincible Overlord. It's both great stuff. Those are top-notch products in my estimation.
Yeah, I'm kind of eager to get the Goodman Games one that they did. It's coming, and it was a limited release. They were very particular about it because of sensitive issues that had happened, I guess, previously. But I'm one of the ones that never had the city state, and I want that stuff, and if
Yeah.
that's the only way I can get it, that I'm in. There was another question. What's your favorite class to play in Hyperborea?
Oh, geez. The
That's
times
like
I-
picking a child,
I
your favorite
know.
child, right?
Like picking your favorite child. I like some of the oddball classes. I really like the Scout. I like the Cryomancer. I like some of the hybrid classes, like the Ledger Domainist and the Purloiner.
hmm
There's just so many, it's hard to pick. But I'm playing in a game with some buddies this August, and one of my buddies is running Hyperborea, so he texted the lot of us and asked me what I would like to play, and I told him that I was going to play an illusionist. So I just out of the blue, I just I'll play an illusionist. So I'm really up for anything. Historically, my favorite classes to play have always been thief related or magician related type classes. Those have always been my favorites.
Actually, just had our first session today. My buddy Nick is starting up a Hyperborea game, and we rolled up stats, and then me and our other friend Charles sat there for like an hour and a half debating which classes we wanted to play. So,
how many players?
It's going to be 3.
Yeah.
The third gentleman couldn't join us this week. He had a conflict, but I went with a Fire Lord Warlock.
Oh, nice.
Wow. So you're playing in this one, huh, Dan?
Yeah.
That's cool.
I'm excited.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I comment here on yes, the way they did that, they twisted themselves into knots, but that's them.
It's neither here nor there. It's fine.
Yeah, Fighter, Jeff, Fighter, that's the best. You know it.
You can't go wrong with the Fighter. I'm actually proud of what we did with our Fighter in Hyperborea, because one of our design goals with it was looking at past systems. One of the things I always noticed was that the power creep always came into play, in which the subclasses always outshined their core classes from which they were supposed to be derived.
Yeah.
And so right from the get-go, really wanted the magician and the fighter and the cleric and the thief to really be exciting character classes to play. And I think our fighter kicks butt, and so I think that there's no drawback to just playing a regular fighter, because in Hyperborea, when it comes to just pure fighting and combat, the fighter is going to shine amongst the best.
All right, Bill's got another question here. Serious, legit question. Paladins in Hyperborea.
Yeah, sure. So paladins in Hyperborea at least the way I run it in my home games, are rare. And because most of the deities in Hyperborea are chaos related and inspired by Cthulhu mythos, there really aren't a lot of paladins, but we do have some gods of law in there, and Apollo is one of them, and who is one of the old Hyperborean gods. In fact, when the ancient Greek philosophers were writing and lecturing on Hyperborea, like Herodotus and Pindar and different, they would talk about Hyperborea being a place where Apollo and Artemis would go and basically vacation and would live amongst these golden people that had these incredible lifespans. And so I wanted to embrace some of that Greek mythology too, and Apollo and Artemis being a part of the setting, not just the Clark Ashton Smith inspiration. So having Apollo be there, I thought it made a nice balance between all the gods of chaos that we had. So paladins, like take for example in Cromarium, paladins really aren't out in the open. The paladins of Cromarium form like a cult in which they gather because they're so they're so different in their viewpoints, in their ethics and everything else, and they're trying to comport themselves with this sense of honor and duty, that they're just this rare breed that's frowned upon by most other people as eccentric.
Yeah,
I did play a paladin once. It was a Carolingian Frank, and he was still Catholic. That's what I did for it.
Very nice.
So by capping it at 12th level, I think you hit the sweet spot. A lot of systems tend to fall apart after or right around that point. So is that what you were trying to avoid, and kind of go back to the old school?
Yeah, I wanted to have that old school vibe and old school mechanics, but also keep it somewhat contained so that it could still have that sort of Pulp Fiction sword and sorcery feel to it, that the characters weren't these immortal gods that can basically do anything and destroy anyone. I wanted them to stay mortal and be basically in danger in any situation.
Yeah.
In relation to you just said about the pulp feel, sword and sorcery feel, for people who aren't familiar with this, the game you don't have demi-humans like elves, dwarves, etc., right? And I was just wondering if you could talk a little bit about that. You have many races, but they're human races, or I guess the Hyperboreans are technically not human. But can you just say why you made that choice and how it preserves maybe the theme that you're looking for, or the feel?
Sure. The concept behind that is that I was embracing a style of literary influences in the fiction of authors such as Robert E. Howard, Clark Ashton Smith, and H.P. Lovecraft as the primary three inspirational authors, but also inspired by the works of authors such as Abraham Merritt, Fritz Leiber, Michael Moorcock, Carl Edward Wagner, Edgar Rice Burroughs. So many influences. But what you'll find in all the things that I'm listing out there is that they're not exactly playing in Tolkien's backyard. The high fantasy that was spawned by the works of the great professor has had so many knockoffs over the years, and D&D embraced that too. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if it was something that Gary loved per se. I think Gary was always more interested in humanocentric types of settings and races. And if you believe everything that that he would say in his various interviews, and he was asked about it, that they basically twisted his arm to add all these demi-humans.
Right. Yeah.
That it wasn't really something that he was terribly into. So my idea behind it is really basically embracing the setting content and leaving the high fantasy stuff to other games that do high fantasy really well.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Okay. Great.
So any other games that you happen to like to play Just out of curiosity.
Sure, yeah. Um, you know, um, recently had the pleasure of playing some Neon Lords of the Toxic Wastelands. That's a pretty wild game. That was a lot of fun. I've played a little bit of Shadow Dark, um, and I've played some OSE recently and stuff like that. So basically, my gaming group, we play every week in person, and I usually run the game, but sometimes I'll take a break, and when I take a break, other guys will run game. One of the ones we played recently is one of the free league games called Simbaroom.
Okay.
That's a lot of fun. It's got a really dark sort of gothic setting. You could say that the tone of it is very similar to what Dolanwood is. It's sort of like that Germanic brothers,
Grimm's fairy tale. Yeah.
that kind of inspiration in their setting. And so yeah, I don't mind bouncing around and trying different games and systems and settings and stuff like that.
Yeah. There is another question here from Xbox Father. Of the three primary authors you say provide inspiration to your work, Howard Smith and Lovecraft. I think you also mentioned Wagner as well. Who, if you had to choose one, who's your personal favorite?
Geez, it's like whichever one I'm reading is my favorite at that time because I love them all so dearly. But if push came to shove and you told me that I can only bring one of their works with me on a desert island, it would probably be Howard.
Howard. Okay. All
Yeah.
right. There you go. Yeah. Bill's Bill's got some things to say on Gary not standing his ground.
He surely does.
Let's see here. Oh, Panglosius. I think I pronounced that right. Last year, he asked you to autograph your purchase for your disabled daughter, and you did, and she was very happy, and he wanted to
Oh,
say
my
thank you for
pleasure.
that. So
It's always
that
my
is,
pleasure. It's always an honor to me that someone would actually want my autograph on a.
is that a weird feeling or what?
Yeah,
Uh,
it's you get used to it, but it's pretty cool. I always like I said, it's an honor when to think that someone enjoys your work enough that they would like to have your autograph on it. I think it's cool.
yeah, that's awesome.
I've got a stack for Arnicon.
Uh-oh. You're gonna have to get a stamp for Dan.
Yeah.
Let's see. I don't know if there's any other questions. I think we run through all those. Dan, you got anything that you'd like to carry on with? GM,
Yeah,
or referee wise.
Well, even just player wise, we mentioned the fighter. One of the things that I love about the Hyperborea fighter is heroic fighting, because
Yeah.
that's something that was in OD&D, right? But it got
Right.
very quickly abandoned in the basic line and all the subsequent clones. So the fighter in that game, to me, always just seems kind of lackluster because he's missing that ability to like wade into a sea of enemies and just
Right.
beat the hell out of them. But not a problem in this game.
Yes,
So-
and then it goes up. So it's you start off at first level that it's one hit dice or less creatures that you can do that to, and
Yeah.
then I think it's 7th level that you do it at to 2 hit dice or less creatures.
Yeah, which is awesome. So referee wise, of the bestiary in the referee manual, do you have any like favorite monsters or creatures that you've included in there?
I like some of the weird stuff that we have in there. Like I like the Men of Leng and the Migo and the other things. A lot of my favorite monsters are the sort of the Lovecraftian creatures, and that's what I feel like. That's one of the component. It's when you look at the whole game and my 3 inspirational authors, you can say that a lot of the monsters that populate the setting are inspired by Lovecraft. The setting itself, the lands, and this flat Earth setting and the various cities and whatnot. A lot of that's very Clark Ashton Smith inspired. But then when you have the different cultures and the clashing of these different peoples and the heroic stamp of the men and women who populate these places, a lot of that comes from Howard. So it's sort of like this this great melding of different literary influences that bring it all together, I feel.
Yeah.
We got another question there. Wants to know
From
Chainsaw.
Chainsaw.
Yeah, wants to know favorite monster.
Jeez, if I was gonna pick a favorite monster,
Mine's the Death Vine, and I almost got Vance with one this week.
This is gonna sound ridiculous, but I've always loved Sturges since I was a kid. I feel like Sturges are
I think we talked about that. Yeah. Yeah.
Sturges are good to see Chainsaw in the chat, though. Chainsaw is a longtime friend and collaborator with the Hyperborea stuff. He did the Lost Treasure of Atlantis module, and he did what's a definitely a fan favorite is the Brazen Bull adventure that is in the Rats on the Walls module, and he's helping me work on some stuff now in Cromarium. So he's a great boon to what we're doing here.
Well, we certainly hope that we can get you back on when you're ready to start kicking that one off. And, and are you going to do a crowdfund on that one?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Let's see. There's a couple other ones in here. Dungeon Delver, he's back. Do you have the beings from? I'm not going to pronounce that right. Zyklotl statted up, or is the servants of Eagle and Neck?
I have not. I know the pronunciations are great, right? Like, how do we say some of these things? But I basically, when I was doing the different Lovecraft related critters, I essentially stayed away from most of the ones that were developed by guys like, August Derleth and Ramsey Campbell and things like that. Because honestly, a lot of the Lovecraft stuff had fallen into the public domain, but a lot of the other stuff did not necessarily. And so I didn't want to touch on intellectual properties that maybe I didn't have permission to do so.
Yeah. Kyle, Dying Breed Tabletop, a buddy of ours, and one of the gamers on the Monday stream. It says, well, Mr. Talanian, you are an inspiration and an icon for OSR fans and aficionados. The things you have brought to this hobby cannot be recognized enough.
That's pretty nice.
Thank you. Yeah.
I really appreciate that.
Yeah, and Kyle is a diehard. He loves the old school stuff. I think he said if he ever ran a game, it was going to be first edition AD&D, and now I think he's seriously thinking about maybe running a Hyperborea game instead.
Oh, that's nice. It's always, I'm always delighted to hear that someone wants to run the game or if someone's excited about playing the game, because I feel like there's so many. We live in this new golden age now of gaming in which there's so many options out there. And I'm guilty of this myself, that I buy systems and I put them on a shelf. And I feel like there's so many games that we have, and it's so easy to just put it on a shelf. So if someone actually pulls that Hyperborea book off the shelf and they actually want to play it, to me, that's a great honor.
Yeah. Stephen Kennedy says Death Vine is a good one for sure.
I love them.
Demetrius says the best monster is the serpent Jotun.
Jotun, yeah.
Jotun, okay. Reference to something I posted on Hyperborea Discord. Okay.
Okay. I mean, I love snake men too. That's another thing that I always love. Like, the machinations of the snake men definitely is something. Oh yeah, the crab men as well.
Yeah.
The crab men were pretty wild, because when I was first working on the concept, I was working with Ian Bagley, the artist, and I remember at the time Bagley had sent me like a page of different crabman sketches, in which some of them looked very humanoid with only like a crab-like head, and it was really that sort of anthropodal crustacean, really alien-looking one that we ended up going with, that I think worked really well. So I love those guys as well. As a really cool critter in the game.
All right, I got another monster question that, as I'm flipping through my book here, where did the inspiration for that wretched-looking Night Gaunt Queen come from? Because that's some of the art that I like scare people with.
Yeah, that was just something I came up with. I was looking to sort of expand the lore of what the Night Gaunts were. So that was in my adventure called The Sea Wolf's Daughter.
Mhm.
We introduced those. And also like the eggs and how they open, sort of like the eggs in Alien. And so really it was just something that I came up with, and then it just it evolved naturally from there.
Yeah,
Well, it's super creepy looking, so good job.
Bill wants he needs a new spell created.
You're right. I know.
Forget
I think
Fireball.
that actually happened in one of my games once, where they killed a crab man, and they were like, "Wait a minute, how big is this claw? What's in this claw? Can we eat it?"
Is this cannibalism?
Right.
He's not human. Well,
Right.
Oh man, Cam, what else you got? Any other questions percolating around in there?
I don't have any more in particular. I just note we did run into a giant crab in a pond. Our magic user almost got eaten by.
I
them.
tried so hard.
You did. You I like your dice. You should make sure you use them all the time.
I'm gonna switch dice. I'm gonna find dice that roll better.
and Kyle's like, you can't have sword and sorcery without snake men.
It's true.
And that's true. We had in the Ardenone game that we did, we had snake men. We actually had a Medusa too. So
Very nice.
yeah, and that was fun. Man,
Well, I'm sorry. I actually do have a few things. Or just a comment, really, not so much a question. I do like the advanced combat maneuver stuff that you've put in the game. I like having those little things you could pull out for a certain situation, and so I've studied that extensively to try to avoid dying. We'll see how it works out in the end, but that, and I also I like the equipment stuff you have. There's some neat detail, and it's not just, is this one do a D6 and this one does a D8? Well, I take the D8 one. It's
right.
Interesting choices in there. So
yeah, some of them have some tactical advantages, like like a flail can ignore the opposing opponent's shield, because it can basically hook over the shield,
right.
And different little wrinkles like that. Another thing we brought into and this isn't exactly the most original concept, but having weapon class by the which is basically using the weapon's reach as a determining factor that you can use when initiative, when the first round of initiative occurs, so that longer reach weapons can potentially strike first.
Mm-hmm.
And stuff like that we do with the weapons, and then all the different advanced combat actions. They're intended to be optional. They're not for everyone, because it's something that you can get a little bit more into as you get deeper into the game and get more smooth at running it and playing it. And what they introduce is a lot of different things, like whether it can be like setting arrows in the ground. We have one that's like a double arrow shot. Different charging maneuvers, different stuff that you can do with shields, offering a shield to help an ally, just all kinds of things, 2-weapon fighting. All that stuff is just fun little wrinkles to add to the game. I wouldn't usually embrace most of them running a convention game, when you have 4 hours and you have a lot of people who are playing. But for home play, when you're running a campaign, and the campaign is running session after session after session, it's good to have these things that your players can get into, and make them feel like they're, making these meaningful choices for tactics.
Yeah. Stephen Kennedy says setting arrows so good.
Yeah, Cam likes that one.
Yeah,
it was really funny. When we started the game, these guys were like, "Hey, can we use the advanced combat actions?" And I was like, "Well, I'm going to use them against you, so
yeah, might as well."
Is your answer right?
Yeah. I got another question from Donald Colton. A question for Jeff: are there still plans to republish a few of the older, shorter scenarios?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. That's something, definitely in the works. I'd like to get everything back in print that's out of print, and including that Black Moss Hag adventure, which has been a popular request because what it was in the appendix of our second edition book as a starter adventure, and that's been out of print. So I'd like to introduce that back in some of the other ones, like the Charnel Crypt of the Sightless Serpent, taken from Dunwich. We're sold out of Ghost Ship of the Desert Dunes. We're sold out of The Mystery at Port Greeley. So there's a good bunch of them that we no longer have available that I'd like to bring back. It's a good problem to have. It shows that people are buying them, so it's kind of a cool thing. But I'd like to get them back out there.
Yeah. So would you do those in a compilation, or would you do them individually, or
I think
how?
they would just be done in the same way that they were done before. Saddle stitch, stapled module booklets that are, but the Sightless Serpent is when we first started this whole thing, and they were just like doing things in a digest size at first. So it would be a full size module at this point.
Okay.
Taken from Dunwich, when I do Taken from Dunwich, that was also a smaller digest sized module. What I've been tinkering around with when I'm not working on Cromarium is actually doing a little more development of the town itself of Dunwich, which is in the Gal Hills, which is primarily a Celtic region of Hyperborea. And so all of that is fun stuff to be working on. See you later, Bill.
Yeah. I know he's working on this new project. So, and he's actually going to be providing, I think, copies of Crom for our giveaway stream next Sunday.
Oh, very nice.
So I know you sent me a couple of things, including one of the modules you mentioned. So you've got a couple of things in there. We've got stuff from Advanced Fantasy Games. We got all kinds of cool stuff. I do ask that everybody be subscribed, because the thing is gonna, so if you're not a subscribe to the Bad News Bards, subscribe now, so that when we do the stream next week, and we are starting an hour early on that one, 8 o'clock Eastern, instead of the normal 9 p.m. But I definitely want to thank you very much for putting that in. Kyle's got another thing. He says he likes the masks that are on the equipment charts, but everyone overlooks them. Meanwhile, masks may potentially completely alter the outcome of the party's available options. So
he's referring to the Monday group, because you guys are currently, wanted and exiled. So
not me. I'm not.
Four of us are. Four of us are.
Four of you are. So.
I'm a law-abiding citizen always.
Yes, for sure. So.
But let's see. More merch. Xbox Father wants more merch. Yeah, merch is always a great thing.
Yeah, that's why I want to do the dice again, and I'm sure we'll do another T-shirt at some point. But like I was saying the other day when I was on with you in the other show, Dan, we might be doing something different with T-shirts in the near future, in which we do some type of maybe like a Redbubble store or something like that, so that all the designs can just be available, and then people can pick their different T-shirt types. Some people like 100% cotton, some people prefer a tri-blend. So it's cool to be able to have all those different options. I think what I would try to avoid, though, is like, as much as it's cool to offer people to print a T-shirt design on any color T-shirt, you can definitely see that some color shirts just do not go with the art. So I'd probably like to kind of take a look at it and maybe control that a little more so that they look cool and don't look dumb.
Right. On some of the print on demand shirts, I think you as a creator can pick what colors are available. So
that's what I mean. Yeah, that I would pick. I would look at the colors, because I see some people just open it up to every color shirt that people want to use, and I don't want the art to look bad, on some of these weirder color, not weird color shirts, but just something that doesn't,
something that clashes. Yeah.
So Xbox Father brought up a point that I was absolutely just getting ready to mention, and point to Dan. Always do a T. Always make sure that there's a T available, because gamer people size.
that's one of the hardest things, because a lot of the t-shirt companies, I've been going through Custom Ink for a long time, and when you go through their different t-shirt options, it's a lot of them don't have the tall tee available.
Yeah.
Let's see. Steven wants to sub twice. Well, you could sub to here, and you could sub to Dan, the Final Arbiter.
I'll make content one day.
Yeah. In the meantime, he's just drifting off of everybody else's. But we love you anyways, Dan.
Thanks, buddy.
As well as Erudite DM's channel that you were on just the other day.
Yeah,
That
was awesome. I am familiar with Dunwich. I have a backup character from Bogrest.
Nice.
Very nice.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Bogrest is another town that is in the Gal Hills, which is primarily Celtic land, and Bogrest is also the sort of the home base, the local town in Ben Ball's Beneath the Comet adventure.
Okay. Kyle likes black t-shirts. I'm a big fan of black as well.
Yeah,
Black is
same here.
always good.
So, a book question for you, since you mentioned the second edition. Second edition, for those that don't know, was just one volume. It's like one massive 600-page book. And whenever the question of what's your desert island TTRPG, I always people say like the rule cyclopedia. Mine's always Hyperborea too. What do you prefer, or like what do you the pros and cons of the very large single volume versus like the two books for third edition?
Yeah, so there's a few different reasons why I prefer to have it in 2 volumes at this point. And the first one is ease of transportation, going to conventions and things like that. It's a lot easier to have a 300-page book than a 600-page book, especially when you're just going to play games and you don't need everything about the monsters and magic items and the gazetteer of the setting and all those appendices. You don't need all that stuff if you're going to go to a convention game or if you're a player. So then the other part of that similarly plays into it is there are a lot of players there that don't need to have all that information, that don't run Hyperborea, that just need the information on the character classes, the spells, the equipment, and combat.
Yeah.
So Stephen Kennedy, he wants to send you a shirt. I had to clarify because those that don't know, yes, my real name is Jeff. So we're 2 Jeffs, and we spell it exactly the same way too. So Squirrel likes baseball T-shirts. They're his favorite, but they're not a popular seller. So that's
We did one once before. We did one with that Nightgaunt Queen on it.
Yep.
That's kind of cool. Let's see, the one big book can double as party. How much do you have any novel, how many any novels that are set in your settings that are in the works or coming out?
Not any novels per se, but there's a gentleman who I've been friends with for many years who's a big aficionado of Hyperborea that's written a series of short stories for it, and I've actually been reading them now. I was just reading I think the 4th one in his series that he sent me. So it may be something that would go forward and publish at some point.
That would be cool. I bet you they'd be really popular.
Yeah.
So, any other questions, Dan? Cam? Chat. There's been a lot. That's been popping off in the chat, man. It's trying to keep up here.
I know you mentioned on Mike's stream or show, it wasn't really a stream, but for City State at Chromarium, the 2 new classes. I don't know if you want to. I'm not sure how much I can ask about those because I'm curious.
Right. So introducing 2 new classes, which is the first time we've done so in about 10 years, because we haven't introduced any new classes since the 2nd edition of the game.
Right.
And one of them is called a Reaver, and a Reaver is sort of a mashup of a fighter and a thief type of hybrid class, in which the class has sort of those melding of different abilities, but not all of each of them. You know what I mean? And but also has a few of its own, at least one or two unique abilities of its own that no other character class has. So that's the Reaver. They can function as a sort of investigators, bounty hunters, things like that. The kind of
That sounds
roles
cool.
they would play. Yeah. And then the other one is a seer, and a seer is going to be a cleric subclass that functions as a sort of psionicist type of class with a lot of mind powers. Not really embracing any of the D&D type of psionics the way it was ever done in D&D. More like its own individual abilities that it has, and some of them being spell-like abilities.
Very cool.
That's
That's
cool.
going to be a unique one, and I think that's going to be really popular because it's going to have a bunch of unique skills. I've been kicking around this seer for like 10 years. I was almost going to publish it 10 years ago, and then I fell in love with the Runegraver concept and went with that for 2nd edition. And then we didn't do any new classes for 3rd edition. So coming back to the seer was a lot of fun, and going back into its development. I don't want to give away too much at this time.
Did you make some changes from what you had done what your plans were then?
Yes, I definitely did, because there were some things that I just didn't like about it at that time, and I couldn't wrap my head around what I didn't like or how I wanted to change it. And so I just shelved it. In coming back to it years later with fresh eyes, I looked at it, and right away I knew some of the things that I want. When you kind of separate yourself from something for a long time, you think you don't get it, and then when you come back to it, you're like, oh, you have this sort of eureka moment. So so that's kind of what happened with the seer.
Yeah, Greg Christopher likes to do that too, because he did his Shadow Sun some time ago, and then he's put it away, and he's done a whole bunch of other stuff since, and now he's going back and revisiting it and expanding it, and
Now, is that like Dark Sun inspired for Shadow Dark?
Yes, yeah, that's what that is. Yeah, he was at CNY. I don't know if you got to meet him,
No,
or not
not
CNY.
CNY, North
He
Texas.
was at North Texas. Sorry. I wasn't sure if you had got to meet him. We were hanging out with him in the bar area. I mean,
Oh, cool.
when,
That was kind of chaotic there at the bar.
Yeah. Oh, there was a lot of people that I'm like, I got business cards, I got stacks of business cards and different handwritten notes and all kinds of stuff still to go through.
I have a Reaver question. Will it have my dream combination of weapon mastery, melee expert, and backstab? Pretty please.
No, that's way too overpowering.
Damn.
Why would you ever need to play another fighter or a thief if you could do all those things?
Worth a shot.
That's a big negative, Dan.
Worth a shot. Oh well.
All right, here's a couple more. Are you looking to do any Hyperborea stuff? Anything there?
The way I look at Hyperborea is the sort of mystical underworld that when you delve really deep, you go into this sort of subterranean realm that's like its own thing. And we touch on it a little bit, or I should say Corey touched on it a little bit with the Zambala stuff. And we may be touching on a little bit of that also with the Chromarium stuff. And that's kind of some of the stuff that Chainsaw's been working on. And so, yeah, it's definitely something. It's the Hyperborea is sort of like the very concept of the underworld, and so it's deeper than anything that's like deeper than like your standard dungeon that may be 30 feet or 100 feet below the ground. It's going really deep, and so yeah, definitely.
That's awesome. Kyle Dimebry, he says best of luck to you, and everybody pledge the Kickstarter or at least share it on socials. This is a creator that deserves support, and I double that too. Yeah. I am looking to. I really was hoping somebody had the Hyperborea books in stock that I could bring back with me when I was up at CNY, because I just didn't have the room to get them at North Texas. I had to squeeze everything into my luggage. Because I flew out there, but I drove up to CNY. So But I'll probably wind up ordering it from the site here. I did pick up the PDFs. I have all the PDFs. I did get them from drive-through. So, let's see here. Somebody else, speaking of stuff, and these are something that I like myself. Canvas prints.
Oh, of like the artwork.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's not something I really do because all my artists are freelance. They're not like in-house staff artists or anything like that. So that would require a different type of contract.
Agreement.
Different agreement between the artist and me. So if there is a particular piece that you really love and if you need help identifying which artist drew the piece, I can definitely direct you, or if you do know who that artist is, my advice would be to reach out to the artist and see if they would be willing to do something like that.
That would be cool. That would be cool. I know I picked up some of the artwork from some of the Troll Lord stuff, and but yeah, it all depends on your arrangement that you have, and I get it.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of, well, honestly, all the art, but the Ian Bagley, I think they're charcoal. Like those are
that's his major medium that he uses is charcoal. Yeah,
they're so awesome.
Yeah, he's doing the Reaver and the Seer. For the classes.
Sweet.
Yeah, can have some Bagley character class art again.
Awesome. And Stevie Kennedy loves the white picture.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh, speaking of Greg from Advanced Fantasy Games, he's hoping everything is well. He's also I've got a couple of prints. I don't know if you can see them sitting there on the shelf that I'm going to be giving away next week, along with 3 of your adventures and a bunch of other stuff. So, folks, make sure you do tune in, like, and subscribe, and follow the channel. We're gonna be doing having a fun time celebrating Independence Day.
Yeah.
Really like the witch picture as well. Well, I see Darklight's comment. I think it's. But any rate, Cam, anything else that you've got?
Well, I'll just say that I want to say thank you for this game, because it's filled in that spot that I've been craving, and part of I said I wanted to have a first edition experience, and I understand it's not exactly the same, but it's giving me that feel, that old school, but with a few newer tasty bits too, which I admit I enjoy. I like third edition D&D. I played it for a lot of years. And even though I'm more interested in the old school stuff, I like having, like you said, the tactical options, that gives it a little spice that I really enjoy. So
thank you.
And if anybody wants to check out your website, hyperborea.tv.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
There's the and it's been popping in the chat here every so often, and then of course, if you want, you can also go to, and this link is probably too much to type in, so I would just say search for Northwind Adventures.
Yeah.
On the Drive-Thru RPG site, if you want the PDF versions. You don't carry the PDFs at all on your site, or do you have any?
No, I may do that in the future, but right now I just do it solely through Drive-Thru RPG.
Because I'll tell you, I'm an IT guy, right? But I appreciate having a PDF for reference, but I prefer print.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
I like to read physical, tactile feel.
I retain it better, especially when like running a module for you guys. Like I retain it better when I'm reading the actual book. So
yeah. So a print plus PDF. I always try to get print plus PDF if it's an option. So maybe if you could find a way to do that where people can order that and then you give them a code to or whatever, might be an option.
Do something like that in the future, but right now I keep it all separate.
Yeah. All right. Cam, you've got to get ready to go to another show, right? You've got Top Lofty Lounge coming up at the top of the hour. What's the subject tonight?
Kind of a clearinghouse. We're going to be going over the now very disappointing The Amazing Digital Circus, kind of the last note on that. Sci-Fi Snob, whose channel it is, wants to say something about Supergirl, which I haven't seen. And then we were also, however, wanted to talk about the upcoming Conan cartoon by Tartakovsky.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm interested in that, and I've got high hopes for it. I should know better than to get my hopes up too high, but this one might get over the top. So
I hope so. The guy's got some cred, but you never know today. So, Jeff, what do you got coming up in the immediate future? Any visits to any cons or
I think I don't have another convention until September. And
which one? Arnicon or
no, that's in October. September I have ShireCon, which is in Connecticut. Yeah, that'll be good. And I also have a local Comic-Con that I do here in New Hampshire that has a pretty large gaming component to it called Granite State Comic-Con. So basically nothing until September, but I don't want to think about September yet because that means summer's over.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Yeah, we've had Tom on. In fact, speaking of PDFs, I just got Singed from him. That just showed up, and I think he's going to be mailing out the printed one soon. So that's his Dragon Slayer adventure. That's loosely based on the old game with Dirk. Remember the video game back in the day? Yeah.
Of course. So. Yeah, I wasted it. That was that the first video game that was like 50 cents.
I think it was. It was, or maybe $1 even at some points. Depending on what arcade you went to.
Right.
I actually had that on a DVD.
Oh, really?
And you could play it. Yeah, it was quirky.
That's wild.
You could play with the remote control for your DVD player.
What was the other one? The sci-fi one, Space Ace?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that one.
Yeah, that was another one too.
Yeah, basically the same. Was it the Don Bluth? Was it his artist that did that or something like that?
I think so, something like that. Yeah.
That was interesting. What do you think about this new Conan? Are you cautiously optimistic?
Yes, it's exactly how I feel. I'm cautiously optimistic. Yeah,
same.
I've given up on my favorite properties ever being properly represented. So if it's good, I'll be pleasantly surprised. I'm hoping it is.
Yeah, it's one of those things you almost hold your breath. It's like, okay, here we go again.
Yeah.
I started to watch that Red Sonja movie, and I literally lasted like 7 minutes and shut it off.
Yeah. Oh well, yeah. Cam and me we're on a Babylon 5 rewatch. I don't know if you.
I love that. I was obsessed with that in the 90s.
Right. Hey, if you ever want to join us, let me know, man.
Yeah, we do have guests. Come on, we're in season.
We do
at the beginning of season 4.
Here's a bit of trivia for you. So my wife, when she was young and she was in elementary school, her 3rd grade or 4th grade teacher was Miss Boxleitner. It was Bruce Boxleitner's sister.
Oh wow! Teacher. Okay,
yeah,
that's awesome. Well, he lives. I think he lives over in Nashville, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
I don't know if you saw the intro. We had Peter Jurasik on. And what a delightful
guy. I saw that. That was awesome. He was in character. That's great.
He did his Londo Mollari and the whole accent and everything. He is such an awesome guy, and we hope to have him back on the B5 show. Probably at the end of this season, maybe. You think, Cam, or something like that?
Yeah, well, we're passing a huge milestone for the character this week. So, we wanted to avoid some spoiler talk. We don't want to constrain the guest, but we also didn't want to get too far because some of the guys, like Jeff, hasn't seen it before. This is his first
Oh,
watch.
really?
Yeah. So I was 21, living in Vegas, man. I what do you think? I was chasing cocktail waitresses and Keno runners. I wasn't watching TV at home with the roommates.
Right.
Oh, but that was a long time ago. 94, 95. Yeah. But so this, yeah, I had caught most of Deep Space Nine and of the other Star Trek stuff that was on. Hit and miss a lot during that era, but I was like, I don't know if I could get invested. And now I'm like, what was I missing? This thing was
Right.
awesome, and it just gets better and better as the seasons have progressed.
Yeah.
Well, this is sorry if I'm starting a topic late here, but obviously you have a lot of inspiration from the Howard and such. Are there any other one? Well, you said you're a fan of Babylon 5. I'm not sure that's an inspiration for Hyperborea, but are there any others that are kind of
what do you mean? Like you're talking?
well,
TV or film?
Any other inspirations that have influenced Hyperborea beyond the
beyond the literary ones? Yeah, sure. I would say like one of them that's always stuck in my head over the years is Thundar the Barbarian. I always loved that cartoon. Different films from the 80s that I loved. I loved Krull and the Beastmaster, and just different films like that. Those were definitely influential to me.
Did you cry when one of them died?
Oh yeah.
And everybody who's seen Beastmaster knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Krull was a huge we had a homebrew game I played throughout the 80s and 90s, and Krull was there were maybe Krull, Excalibur, those were huge
Excalibur, definitely. Yeah, love that stuff. And then comic books as well. It's another.
You mentioned Stan Lee, right?
Yeah, I cut my teeth on reading like Savage Sword of Conan, and stuff like that. But some of that stuff that that Roy Thomas was creating to fill in the different gaps of Conan's life. So it's basically pastiche, but he did a wonderful job of just keeping this sort of a continuity of these different storylines together and melding them in with Howard's fiction. And of course the art by John Buscema and Ernie Chan. You can't beat that stuff.
And a little bit of Barry Windsor Smith in there too, I think, in some of the earliest.
In Conan the Barbarian, but not so much in Savage Sword of Conan, I don't think.
Yeah.
But Barry Smith in those early years, and that's great stuff as well.
Well, everybody needs to go and pick up a copy or the set, right? I think it said it's like 120 for the.
Yeah, you do a bundle deal.
Yeah. Or you can pick up just the player guide. Of course, you can go to drive-through, and it's not really that expensive on drive-through. It's pretty reasonable.
Get the set because the Atlas is awesome, and the Glenseal map is amazing.
Yeah, and I didn't buy the set on drive-through initially, and so I had to go back and buy them individually. But that's all right because I think it prices up about the same, anyways.
Yeah, I think if you bought the bundle on drive-through, I think you would have saved like $4 or something like that.
Yeah. So I wasn't worried about that, but definitely, I want a print copy, and that's on my list to get. So, because like I said, I got bookshelves, man. I want books on my bookshelves. I love reading, sitting there and reading, going through different stuff. So
very nice.
Any rate, Jeff, it's been awesome. We survived. We didn't get hit by a Cybertruck, and
you never know.
And no restream nonsense.
Yeah,
I know. True. That might be a first.
Right? That might be the first time ever. No drops or any of that stuff. So,
man, we appreciate and Panglosius. I gotta make sure my pronunciation is right here. Yes, we love Dan. Dan's so awesome, and he is a fountain of knowledge. It's been a pleasure having you. It was great meeting you. I hope to run into you again, either at North Texas or CNY.
Yes, sure.
And maybe.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, and anytime you've got anything that you want to, you're getting ready to promote, let me know, man. We'll get you
stay in
on.
touch. Definitely.
Yeah, we'll definitely.
My pleasure.
So,
awesome. Thank you, guys.
I'm going to pop up a couple of last things here, and let's see here. Yeah. I appreciate that. That was, I think that was to me. I try. We try to have interesting people on, and that's what it's all about. And yeah, I yap a lot, so my wife calls me yappy. Any rate, all right, guys. I think that's a wrap, and we're gonna go ahead and roll the credits. If you want to stick around for just a minute, Jeff, after us, we'll wrap up.
Sounds great.
All right, guys.
Have a great night, everyone.
Thank you.
Take care. See you
Good night.
guys.